And even the notion that there would be even the perception of a cover-up in regards to an investigation involving 4 little girls is not only unsubstantiated, but, ladies and gentlemen, it strikes me at the very core of who I am and the agency that I represent.
A state fire investigator has resigned with little explanation after questions have been raised about the investigation into a fatal fire that killed 4 girls and injured their mother.
Some of the details in this case that have become public are head-scratching. Fire investigator Dennis Randall was assigned to investigate the fatal Flora fire, but on Friday resigned abruptly after questions have been raised about how this case has been investigated. State police who are investigating the criminal side of this arson investigation are also not commenting. Why? Well, the Carroll County prosecutor has asked that the investigative agencies involved in this case refrain from commenting at this time.
Neither the state fire marshal nor his chief of staff will talk with us. Now, the Carroll County prosecutor, meanwhile, has asked that all investigating agencies refrain from talking further about this case.
So were you aware that there were questions being raised about Dennis Randall's handling of the evidence and investigation into the actual cause and origin of the fire?
I was not.
And as we said, the NAACP got involved in the case and the family's call for answers.
In fact, leaders of the organization believe the case has been bungled, and they also say police are not updating family members.
Nobody's been brought to justice. Nobody is talking to the family to even update them on the status of the investigation. But it smells of a cover-up. How are you going to go and have an investigation for almost a year, and it doesn't appear that we're any further along on this?
But I don't think anything's bothered me more than what's occurred in Carroll County, Indiana, in my entire lifetime.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Schedule an executive session and special meeting on the agenda, and I will let Ted talk about that.
This relates to the Fox 59 lawsuit against Carroll County E911. As I've informed you by email, the trial court entered a summary judgment in favor of Fox 59 and against Carroll County E911. I'm sure you spent quite a bit of money on this lawsuit, and fighting the public access counselors, basically the opinion that the tapes of the Delphi, or not Delphi, Flora fire, public access counselor ruled that they were public records and they should be disclosed. And for various reasons, you heard from the prosecutor, and others at the time that didn't want to release them, and we authorized the suit, the defense of the suit filed by Fox 59, and the director of E911 has requested that you also hear from persons that were involved in the reasons for the non-disclosure. And those reasons really need to remain secret for legitimate reasons. So if you want to reconsider this, whether you want to continue the fight at the appellate court level or not, then you should have an executive session. Fox 59's lawyers are pursuing getting those released as soon as possible. And I will tell you that it may become necessary if you're waiting until the 18th to authorize Mr. Carroll to file a motion for a stay, which is another procedure to get more time for you to make the decision. So that's why I have suggested that you try to schedule one yet this week to maybe eliminate that possibility that you have to go to that extent. I've given you the list of the people that the director would also like for you to hear from. Do you want to hear from those individuals in the executive session?
I'd like to hear others.
Okay, I think it would make most sense to have the attorney part of it right up front, so you have that information from the lawyer, then hear from the people that the director wants you to hear from. That way you can listen with an informed knowledge of what pros and cons are of a decision whether or not to appeal or not. Questions?
I need to take the podium, please.
This is something that I wanted to talk to you all about today. It was my understanding that you directed the 911 director to release that tape or release that recording. I don't know how. Who made the decision not to? Because this is your department, nobody else's. They're not part of law enforcement. I've had an extensive talk with the Public Access Council about this. And Beth, do you know how much the county has spent yet?
I have not looked that up.
Okay. And she's doing it. I mean, I asked her to do that. The comment, my editor said when we were talking about this last week, have you asked for a copy of that recording? So it's not just Fox 59. And how far are you willing to go?
Can I start my answer some of those you've asked?
Absolutely.
Okay. First off, when this first came up, Ted came to me and said, this is public information. It is something we have to release. And so I said, I took his advice. Okay. I communicated that we needed to release them. Ted communicated that we needed to release them. At that point, I thought that we all agreed and it was going to be released. I don't know how long passed, but there was a passing of time there where other things were going on and I didn't hear any more about it. And all of a sudden, I hear, well, Fox 59 is really aggrieved by this and is going to file suit. I had no knowledge that it hadn't been released. Now, I think you had another question there of, have I heard it or any of us heard it? Have either of you heard it?
No, that was not a question. Who made the decision?
Who made what decision?
Who made that decision to counter what you decided? Who made that decision?
I think that, in my understanding, our 911 director was, I do not believe that it was done, with malice, I guess, or something. I don't believe that she, with a bad heart, went out and said, I'm not going to follow that. I think that she was told by the state police and the prosecutor, oh no, don't release that. And I think she took that advice.
But you're her bosses.
I advised her not to release it until we absolutely had to, and by that time, it was too late to release it.
See, I didn't know that part of it, so.
I told her that when it first came out.
So you
Because she
didn't
called
follow
each
the
and every one
advice
of us
of your
individually.
attorney. You didn't follow the advice of your attorney.
I did not really go by the attorney on that one. I went by the prosecutor and investigating detectives at the time that called me.
My question is how are the taxpayers paying for this, or are the people who made the decision paying for this? Because obviously, Fox 59 felt like it was public information. Of course, we all do in the media, we think everything is public. But the public access counselor also agreed with that, and now the judge has.
And our attorney said that in the very
And
beginning.
Ted, yeah. So, it just, and by last count, I think I remember $30,000 so far, and I'm sure there's more. So, I guess we would encourage you to just, I don't know why you'd have an executive session to talk about the Fox 59 lawsuit, because it's over.
Other than the decision, are we going to appeal? I don't know on what grounds we would appeal. I guess that's something I want to hear. Any reason to appeal? Any reasonable?
I'm sure there are several people who can give you reasons to appeal. We gotta keep this information, but 911 is not part of law enforcement. That's
911 is not part of the...
of law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
And I would also agree with Ted that if you're gonna give the attorney a direction, that needs to be a vote in a public meeting.
That's why we set it at 5:15.
Yeah, and I'm saying I agree with that.
My personal opinion on this is if you want to listen to that tape, you're a sick individual. No one needs to hear that.
I think that's,
That's just my opinion.
that's kind of insulting.
Well, we also have the factor, just to be real open about it, of since we lost, we were probably going to have to pay the other attorney, which is going to really add to.
Didn't even think of that. Yeah.
That's why we have the executive session, to do what we need to do.
No, that's not what
I don't know if that was part of the lawsuit of asking for attorney fees, or if that's just...
It's automatic.
Automatic.
Once there is a determination made by the public access counselor that should be disclosed, and if the requesting party is successful in a lawsuit, they shall get reasonable attorney fees. It's not discretionary.
And I guess, Ted, I'd like for you to tell me if I'm being reasonable or not. To me, there seems like there's something wrong with the situation here of that it appears to the general person out here that we're hiding something. Is that an unreasonable thing to think about this thing?
I think that is a perception that people can reasonably have.
Yeah.
The fact is, I have not heard recordings, and I don't think any of you ever heard recordings. How it's been characterized to me is that the recordings, and it does not have anything to do with the emotional nature of it. It has to do with a valid legal reason. But you may want to hear it firsthand before you make a decision.
Well, I do. And I feel like that as along the vein of what was asked to us by the comment, we're representing the people. I'm concerned about the costs and everything, and I don't feel like that I can make all the decisions if I don't myself hear this and know what we're really dealing with.
Well, with your permission, I'll step out and make that call.
Absolutely. Yes.
Bill, I think the issue is whether or not it's public information. It's not what's on the recording, it's whether or not it's public information.
I think it is public information.
When you make a decision whether or not to pursue based on what you hear, it makes it look like you're sitting in judgment of something. You're deciding that you should violate the access to public records. Yeah. I mean, it's a simple thing. it's either a public information or is not.